Yes, Arsenal secured their first points then of this Premier League season with victory over Norwich at the Emirates. Just the one goal in it, and it came slightly scrappily, shall we say, for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. But Cass, ultimately for Arsenal, It was a case of getting a win, and that's what they got. That's what they needed.
Yes, and Arteta spoke about that after the game, about the difficulty of the last 10 to 15 days, but used it as a positive. Because his relationships within the club, people behind the scenes, and his players, and he felt it was very beneficial to them of getting over the line. It was always going to be difficult if they didn't score early, because the Emirates can be a difficult place to play. The grumblings on the on the terraces or in the stands where fans are getting upset, but Arsenal fans, were singing "We're staying up" after the goal. It's like, you can tell that they recognise the situation has been pretty dire. They were playing a team who had conceded before the start of the game, 10 goals in 3 games. So Norwich had gone there with a bit of an identity, just to try and make it as hard as they could for Arsenal, and hopefully the pressure would mount, and then maybe they could get something in the game late on. I think that was a clear indication of how they went about their business.
Obviously, Arsenal had come into this bottom of the table, and we did speak about it yesterday, and it felt like there was so much more pressure on Arsenal than it was on Norwich, because Norwich's first few games had been a tough start to life in the Premier League, whereas for Arsenal, they'd lost to Brentford, they'd lost to Chelsea, they'd lost to Manchester City. When I was looking at the stats for this game, they had 30 shots in that game against Norwich. Only 6 were on target. Now, obviously, you want to talk about the positives because it's their first victory, but is there some disappointment in a way that from 30 shots, only 6 were on target and they weren't a bit more clinical?
Yeah, and you could say that after watching the Brentford game.
Absolutely, yeah.
When you played them, they had a lot of chances and created chances as well. Didn't convert, weren't very clinical. You could make that accusation again. He made a lot of changes yesterday. Obviously, a big one was the goalkeeper, because Leno was left out of the team, and Ramsdale started. So he's made a big call there. Lacazette still can't get in the starting lineup, and I find that quite strange. I think he's got, out of all the Arsenal strikers, and I know Aubameyang's got really great numbers, but I do think he's, in some ways, he's a little bit more clinical. I think he's had patches where he's not, but I do think there's the player that can get 10 to 15 goals quite comfortable. Aubameyang, if he's on and plays as we know he can get closer to 15 to 20, which he didn't achieve last year. So I think it was a big 3 points in the fact that all the negativity that's been around at the start of their season. They go to Burnley next weekend. It's a big weekend for them, Arsenal. Because, that Burnley, like Leeds, give you different problems. Burnley will give you different... And Arsenal ain't particularly good at set pieces. And you're probably playing one of the best teams at set pieces, because they're a big side and they get things into danger areas, and you have to defend, throwing your body in front of the ball and doing all the difficult and ugly side of the game. And Arsenal haven't been doing that very well for quite a long time. So I think it'll be a fair indicator next weekend of have they really turned that corner.
But as we were saying, a win is a win, and that's how you'll take it, however it comes. And it's a win that moves them up to 16th in the table, so off the bottom for now anyway. And you say that they take on Burnley next. As for Norwich, then they also had a number of chances in the game. They had 10 shots, just the one on target. Goal scoring has always been a bit of an issue for them when they've made it into the Premier League, and you sort of have Timo Pukki is a player that works really, really hard. He's often quite tireless in what you witness from him, but he needs more support if he's going to get more goals in that team.
Yeah, you need to get bodies into areas, and that's the 18-yard box. And when they're in the Championship, and me and you have had this conversation probably 2 or 3 times, when you're in the Championship, you're getting a lot of players into the 18-yard box, and it's a little bit more easier because it's a tougher league. The Premier League you're playing against better quality defenders, midfielders, forwards. So it's a big challenge for you as a player and as a team, that when you get promoted, what sort of team? Will you be the team that dominated the Championship like they did last season? The answer is no, and they found it difficult. Pukki can get goals. I think losing Buendia was a bit of a blow to them because he made a big impact on them. I don't see anything different from when they got promoted last time and went down with a bit of a whimper. I don't see anything different. I'm expecting the same from Norwich. I said it at the start of the season, and I don't think the team that played a certain way and with much more adventure, and they did punish teams in the Championship, I don't think are capable to do that in the Premier League.
Well, they face Watford next. That's at home next weekend. And like I said, they had a tough start. They began against Liverpool, Manchester City, Leicester, and now Arsenal as well. So definitely the Watford game is one that Daniel Farke has a massive ring around going, this is a game we have to get points from.
Oh, absolutely. And Watford's from a great start against Villa in the opening game of the season. They've had a couple of defeats. The one against Wolves yesterday. At Vicarage Road, so it's a big game. It's they're facing what Arsenal were facing yesterday. Arsenal were facing a game that you've got to go and win, even if it's not pretty. It has to be won, and that's what Norwich are going to have to do against Watford, because they can't go into that game and lose again. Look, they've got one goal, and I think they conceded 11. That in itself tells you, even though you're playing really good opposition, you're still going to go down if you're going to concede goals at that alarming rate.
Yeah, disappointment for Norwich, but first points on the board for Arsenal after that victory at the Emirates. Just the one goal in it in the end.